Lee Junho stood on the pedestrian bridge over the Han River and looked down. He simply had nowhere else to look, and he was not thinking about jumping. 26 years old. He is not ugly, that is objective. A normal face, a normal figure, works as a developer at an IT company in Seoul, his own one-room apartment in Mapo. He reads books, knows how to cook, does not make scenes. By all measures, a normal person. Today was rejection number 19. Not 19 in his life. 19 in 3 years? Junho could have written a scientific paper on the topic of why it was specifically him. They rejected him in different ways. Choi Yuna said, "You are too good. I am not ready." Kim Sora said, "There is no chemistry between us." Park Ji-eun said, "You are like a friend, you know?" Lee Hyeji said, "I am not ready for a relationship right now," and a week later posted a photo with a new boyfriend. Today's Osaran said simply, "Not my type." Junho repeated it out loud over the water. "Not my type." The water did not answer. The lights of Seoul reflected in the river in a blurred way, like watercolor. Wonho Bridge hummed quietly somewhere to the side. The city lived on and did not notice. What is wrong with you? This question had lived in him for 3 years and had no answer. He was not mean. He was not boring. At least that is what he thought. Not a coward, not greedy, not rude. Just not my type. Again and again. Junho leaned on the railing, closed his eyes, and then someone sat down beside him. Literally sat on the metal railings of the bridge, as if on a bench in a park. Junho opened his eyes. A girl, about 20 by appearance. Very light hair, almost white, which was strange in itself. Dressed in something between a traditional hanbok and a modern jacket, as if she had not decided on an era. She looked at the water with the same expression with which he had been looking. "You are not going to jump," she said. Not a question, a statement. "No." "Good," she said, "because I cannot swim." Junho looked at her more closely. Something behind her back, folded. Similar to. "Those are wings," the girl said. "Do not look at me like that. I am an angel, that is normal. Normal. Relatively." Junho turned away to the water, then back to her again. "You are an angel." "Yes, my name is Ara, short for something unpronounceable for humans." Pause. "I came to you on business." On business. "God sees you," Ara said, without pathos, matter-of-factly, like a courier explaining delivery details. 3 years, 19 rejections. This is not an accident and not your flaw. It is a pattern. You do not know how to exist properly in this world. Pause. Not because you are bad, because you are undeveloped in the necessary places. "Thank you." "That is not an insult," Era said. "It is a diagnosis. A diagnosis is the beginning of treatment." She turned to him. Her eyes were very light, with a shade that is hard to call a color. God is merciful. He gives you a system. A system. A rejection system, Ara said. For every rejection from a girl, you receive a tattoo. The tattoo gives a skill. The skill makes you better. Pause. Not better for girls. Better in general, as a person. Junho looked at her. Is this a consolation prize? It is a growth tool, Ara said patiently. The difference is fundamental. And how many of these tattoos can there be? Ara was silent for a moment, as many as needed. Excellent. Junho, Ara said, look at your right wrist. He looked. On the wrist where the skin had been cleaned 5 minutes ago, a tattoo appeared. Thin, black, small, slightly larger than a coin. The design resembled an open book with rays around it. This is for O Saran, Ara said. Today's rejection, it has already been counted. What does it give? Ara stood up from the railing, straightened her strange jacket. You will find out in the morning, she said. Skills activate through sleep. Pause. Go home, Junho. A bridge is a bad place for existential crises. Wait, are you just going to leave? I will be nearby, Ara said, not always visibly, but nearby. She looked at the water. The Han is beautiful at night. Yes, life will be too, she said. Be patient. And disappeared, literally between one blink and another. Junho stood on the bridge, looked at his wrist. The tattoo was real, clear. It did not wash away when he rubbed it. Rejection system. He laughed, quietly, a little nervously, then louder. Then he went home. Tattoo number 1, right wrist book with rays. Skill, photographic memory, and speed reading. Morning after the bridge. Junho woke up and felt it immediately. Something had changed, not in the room inside. He got up, took the first book he came across, a technical reference book on Java that had been lying on the shelf gathering dust for a year and a half. Opened it to a random page, read one page in 20 seconds, closed it, reproduced it word for word, including the code examples, opened it, checked, exactly the same. Sat on the bed, looked at the wall for a long time. Good, he said out loud. Over the next 2 weeks, he read 18 books. On development, on psychology, on economics, on Korean history. Everything that had been lying on the shelf unread or half-read. Each one in a few hours. He remembered each one completely. Work changed first. Junho had always been a solid developer, not brilliant, solid, reliable. Now he became different. Tasks that his colleagues thought over for 2 days he saw through in half an hour. Bugs they had searched for weeks he found in an hour, because he remembered every line he had ever read in the codebase. 3 weeks later, team lead Kim Min-sok called him in. Junho, what is happening? Meaning, for the last 3 weeks you have been turning in tasks that you used to do 3 times slower. Pause. And the quality is different. I read a lot, Junho said. Kim Min-sok looked at him, then nodded slowly. Keep reading. In a cafe in Hongdae, Song Hana, a colleague's friend, they met by chance in the coffee line, started talking. She was lively and funny. Dark hair to the shoulders, quick speech, laughed easily. They sat there for 2 hours. Junho, with the memory that held the whole conversation, found topics effortlessly, answered precisely, did not get lost. At the end, he suggested meeting again. Song Hana smiled, a little guiltily. Appa, you are nice, but, I am not looking for anything serious right now. Can we just be friends? 20th. Junho nodded, smiled, stood up. Understood. Good luck. He went out onto the street in Hongdae. As always, there were a lot of people, even on weekdays. Neon signs, the smell of ramen from the nearby eatery. A new tattoo appeared on his left forearm while he was walking to the metro. He felt it through his sleeve. At home, he rolled it up. A small clock face without hands. What will this give? He went to sleep. Tattoo number 2. Left forearm. Clock face skill. Clear sense of time and long-term planning. Morning, Junho lay there and suddenly saw his time. Not a hallucination. He simply understood with a clarity he had never had before. What he does with his time. How much goes to scrolling the feed? How much to meaningless conversations? How much to what is really important? He got up, sat down at the table, took a sheet of paper, wrote a plan. For the first time in his life, an honest one. Not a New Year's wish list. A real plan with real deadlines. 3 months get an AWS certificate. 6 launch the pet project that had been in his head for a year. 1 year reach a senior position. Wrote it. Looked at it. Real. It was all real. Song Hana wrote to him 10 days later. Just like that, a funny picture, Junho replied. They texted sometimes, easily. 3 weeks later, Junho Appa, maybe we can meet. Just casually take a walk. Junho looked at the message. Before, he would have agreed instantly. On any terms, as long as. He wrote, meet, yes. Just take a walk, no. You interest me as a person with the potential for something real. If it is not your thing, okay, no hard feelings. Long pause from her side, then, you have changed, yes? Okay, let us meet properly, Junho put down the phone. Interesting. But today English, then code, then a book on behavioral economics. Priorities. The meeting with Song Hana went well. Very well. Junho was different. Calm, with direction, with the confidence of a person who knows where he is going. Hana noticed, looked at him differently than the first time. On the second meeting, she said, Appa, you really have changed. It is as if something clicked inside. It clicked, Junho agreed. What exactly? I realize that time is finite, Junho said. I stopped wasting it on things that do not work. Hana looked at him. Something in her gaze was a little different, warmer. The third rejection came at a corporate party. Jang Yura from accounting. Beautiful, reserved. They started talking by the food table Junho with his memory, and new calm spoke easily. Yura laughed. At the end of the evening, Junho asked for her number. Yura gently shook her head. Junho C, you are pleasant, but I do not date colleagues. Never, a principal. 21st. The tattoo appeared on his right shoulder by morning. A small compass with a windrose. Tattoo number 3, right shoulder compass. Skill, intuitive reading of people, understanding motives and true intentions. In the morning at work, everything changed. He entered the conference room for a meeting, looked at people. Kim Min-sok is talking about quarterly goals, but he is nervous. Not because of the numbers, because of the person on the right. There is tension between them, hidden under professional phrases. Developer Park Seong-jun nods, but his gaze goes to the window every 30 seconds. Trouble at home. Jang Yura is sitting opposite. She looked at Junho, then quickly looked away. She is thinking about the rejection, already doubting. Junho looked at all this like a map that he had not known how to read before. People always say several things at once. Words are the top layer. Body, gaze, pause are the real thing. After the meeting, Yura approached. Junho C. About yesterday. No need, he said. It is all right. I may be too quickly. Yura C, Junho said calmly. You do not need to explain. She looked at him. You are strange, she said. I hear that often. Good strange, she Udachnila quietly. The pet project that had been in his head for a year, Junho launched in the 5th week after the system. The idea was simple, a platform for independent developers in Korea. Smart matching, not just a list of vacancies, but a system that analyzes stack, coding style, previous projects, and selects tasks where a person will be maximally effective. With photographic memory, he coded quickly, kept the whole architecture in his head. With planning clear sprints, without chaos. With reading people, he understood what users needed more precisely than they themselves formulated in questionnaires. 3 weeks later, the first version. He showed it to 3 developer friends. Where had this been before, Choi Min-jun said. Not rhetorically, sincerely. He put it out in open access. In the first 2 weeks, 400 registrations. Song Hana noticed the changes. One evening at his home, she was eating tteokbokki that he had cooked, watching how he was simultaneously responding to project users. Appa, you have become busy. Yes, before you were. Entirely for conversation. And now you are half here. Junho raised his eyes from the phone. Compass immediately. She is not complaining. She is worried, afraid of losing something she has only just found. Hana, he said, are you saying now that you want more attention? Or that it scares you that I am changing? What? No, I just want to understand. No offense. I just want to. She was silent for a moment. More attention, she finally said. Probably. Say it directly and I will hear it. Hana looked at him. Before you would not have asked like that, she said quietly. You would have just agreed to everything. I know. This is better. What there is now. Pause. It is just unusual. Junho put the phone down. Until the end of the evening, the compass showed she was real. Here, with him. That was enough. IT conference at COEX, 2-day 1. Junho was speaking, a small talk about the pet project, which by that time had gathered 2,000 users, an audience of about 60 people. After the talk, Im Ji-yi, the founder of a small startup, sharp and smart, with that energy of people who always have something to talk about. They talked for an hour and a half, about products, about the Korean IT market, about how to survive without a major investor in the first year. Junho suggested meeting again, personally. Im Ji-yi smiled directly without unnecessary softness. Junho-si, you are an interesting person. Truly, but I decided long ago not to mix the professional circle and the personal. The market is too small, the consequences too big if something goes wrong. Pause, do not be offended. 22nd, tattoo on the left shoulder blade. He found it in the evening, a small flame sharp even. Tattoo number 4, left shoulder blade flame skill, public speaking and charisma in speech. The next day was the second day of the conference. Junho was asked to replace a speaker who had fallen ill. Unplanned. The topic was someone else's, the material was given an hour before. He read it in 20 minutes, memorized it completely, went on stage, and felt the audience differently. Not fear, the opposite. Something warm, as if the audience was not an opponent, but living material to whom something could be given, and they would take it with gratitude. He spoke for 40 minutes, without notes, with pauses that held attention, with examples that hit exactly what the audience wanted to hear. The applause was lively. MG approached afterward. She looked different than yesterday. Yesterday you were good, she said. Today you are different. One day of difference, seriously. From where? Practice, Junho said. She handed him a card, a personal one. In case you want to break my principle, she said. Junho took it, smiled. I will let you know. The compass, she is doubting her principle right now. 4 months after the bridge, 4 tattoos, 4 skills. Memory held everything. Planning gave direction. Reading people removed blind spots. Charisma opened doors that had previously been closed. Pet project 6,000 users. First money small but real. Work Kim Min-sok offered the position of team lead. Junho took a pause. Thought for 3 days, accepted. Song Haina they had dated for 2 months. Then she said, Appa, I need to talk honestly. Compass immediately. This is not the kind of conversation one waits for. The decision has already been made. Say it. You are growing very fast, Hana said. Looked at the table. That is good, truly. But I feel that I cannot keep up with you. Pause. You are already different from when we started. And I am afraid that in another 3 months, you will be different again. And I am the same. You can grow too. I know, she said. But I do not want to grow because someone next to me is growing. And I am afraid to fall behind. I want to grow because I want to myself. A long pause. Do you understand the difference? Junho looked at her. She sees herself honestly. That is rare. I understand, he said. You are not angry? No. Why not, she asked. Sincerely. Because you are telling the truth and respect me enough to say it directly, Junho said. That is rare. Hana looked at him for a long time. You know, she said quietly, when I said back then just as friends you were normal. Pleasant. Pause. Now you are different. I think I was wrong back then. Not wrong, Junho said. Back then I was what I was. You felt it correctly. They separated without anger, like adults. The tattoo appeared in the morning on his right side. Thin waves, horizontal lines like the surface of water on a quiet day. Tattoo number 5. Right side waves. Skill. Emotional intelligence. Managing your state. With this skill, something became different inside. Before he hid pain, pushed it deeper. Now he did not hide it. He simply felt it and did not drown. Hana left it hurt, truly. Not a catastrophe, but it hurt. Junho sat with this pain for an hour. Did not open his phone. Did not turn on music. Just sat. Then got up. Cooked dinner. Opened the code. The pain remained somewhere to the side. It did not interfere. That is what management is. Not the absence of feelings. Coexistence with them. Era appeared. Junho was walking home from the office late. She was simply walking beside him as if she had always been walking there. You are holding up well, she said. 5 tattoos, Junho said. 23 rejections if counting from the beginning. A lot, Era agreed. There is one blind zone, Junho said. I see it myself. Era looked at him with curiosity. The body, he said. The head is growing, but the body is the same as it was. You got smart, Ara said. Memory helps, Junho said. The next tattoo will be for the body, Era said. If you earn it. I need a rejection. It will happen soon, Era said. Life is generous. She disappeared. 1.5 weeks later, Kwon Soyeon, a colleague's friend, they met at a birthday party. Athletic, energetic, with that liveliness that filled any space. Junho suggested meeting. Appa, you are okay, Soyeon said lightly. But I like active guys, sports, mountains, that kind of thing. You are clearly more about the computer. 24th, tattoo on the left calf, mountains, contoured, small. Tattoo number 6, left calf mountains. Skill, physical discipline, and endurance. In the morning, his body wanted to move. He did not force himself, it simply wanted to. For the first time in his life, a run in Uido along the Han River, 3 kilometers slowly with stops, the next day again, faster. A month later, 10 kilometers without stopping. He signed up for a gym in Hapjeong. With photographic memory, he studied the methodology in a week. With planning, he made a program. With emotional intelligence, he did not break down when it did not work. The result after 2 months was not a transformation. But the shoulders were different, the posture was different, the movements were different. Kwon Soyeon met him at the next birthday party. She looked. "Junho Appa, do you work out now?" "Yes, a couple of months." "That happened fast," she said. "Discipline. The compass, she regrets it." Not strongly, but she regrets it. Junho smiled, politely, stepped away to talk to others. Not because he was taking revenge, just no need. Pet project 15,000 users. The first offer from an investor. A small one. A startup studio, 50 million won for 10%. Junho read everything about venture investments in Korea in 3 days. Calculated scenarios. Met with the investor Jung Hyonu, about 45, experienced. The compass worked sincere, not a crook, but deliberately undervaluing the project. Standard tactic. 10% for 50 million? No, Junho said. 5% conversation. Jung Hyonu was surprised, then laughed. You are the first who refused me like that. The first honest one. They agreed on 7% for 70 million. Era appeared again. Late in the evening, she was sitting on the windowsill when Junho came home. You have learned to refuse, she said. Yes. Interesting how it works, she said thoughtfully. You received rejections and learned to reject yourself. Symmetrical. It happened by accident. Nothing happens by accident, Era said. You are changing your attitude toward rejection as a phenomenon. Before, rejection was the end. Now? Information, Junho said. Just information about a mismatch. Ara nodded. Satisfied. Ara, Junho said. How many will there be? Tattoos. I do not know, she said honestly. The system ends when you are ready, not when I decide when you are ready. Ready for what? For not needing the system, Era said. When growth becomes your own process and not a reward for pain. Is that far? Not very, she said. You are fast. She disappeared. Conference in Busan. Junho was speaking already as a recognized speaker, a hall of 120 people. Ha-Yuna, director of product at a large company. Smart, precise, with that special confidence of people who have long made important decisions. They talked after his talk for a long time, interestingly. About product thinking, about the Korean market, about where IT is moving. Junho asked personally. Ha-Yuna looked, calmly. Junho see, you are a very interesting person, but I do not date people from the professional environment. It is a principle for which I have had no exceptions. 25th, tattoo on the left wrist, symmetrical to the first, a small geometric knot complex, precise. Tattoo number 7, left wrist knot. Skill, systems thinking, seeing connections between unrelated things. This changed work on the project radically. Junho began to see patterns. How user behavior at one point is connected to a decision at another. How the market moves not by separate events but by a system of causes. How a small change in one place creates a wave in another. The project in the next month grew to 40,000 users. The second investor was more serious than the first, a publication in a Korean tech outlet. Ha-Yuna wrote 3 weeks later. A work question on the topic of the conference. Briefly, professionally. At the end, P.S. I heard your project is growing actively. Congratulations. Junho answered the question. To the postscript, thank you. Good principles are useful, but the best principles know when to make an exception. Ha-Yuna did not answer for a long time. 2 days later, she wrote again, on a different question that clearly could have been solved by someone else. The compass worked clearly. Junho was leaving the gym after training. A girl at the entrance asked for help with a heavy bag. He helped. While carrying it, they started talking. Lively, interesting. He offered his number. I goo no, she laughed. I am married, but you really are very pleasant. 26th, tattoo on the right collarbone. A small tree with roots below and branches above. Tattoo number 8, right collarbone tree. Skill, deep listening. Hearing what people are really saying. With this skill, conversations changed fundamentally. Junho had been able to speak before too. Now he could hear in such a way that people themselves were surprised. I was not planning to say this. It just came out on its own. In negotiations, he heard what the partner really wanted, not what they formulated. He found the point where both sides won. Friends began to call more often. Choi Min-jun once said, "Junho-ya, I do not know why, but with you I want to talk. You listen somehow, differently. How? As if you are really interested. You do not wait for when you can answer, you listen." The team-laid position that he had taken 6 months ago stopped being the ceiling. Junho wrote a proposal to management. 5 pages concrete with figures and diagrams. Partial restructuring of 3 departments. Kim Min-sok read for a long time. Then, "You are 26. "Yes," Junho agreed. "You want to rebuild what was built for 10 years? Partially. Here are concrete steps with metrics." Kim Min-sok looked at him, then laughed shortly. "All right, we will try." The 9th rejection was unexpected. Kang Sebom, a translator at a business meeting. Smart, reserved. After the meeting, they talked in the elevator. Junho suggested coffee. "Yunho, see, you are an interesting person," she said politely, "but I am leaving for Canada in a month. Studies, there is no point in starting." 27th, tattoo on the left shoulder, 2 open palms as if holding or letting go of something. Tattoo number 9, left shoulder palms. Skill, acceptance of uncertainty. Action without guarantees. This is the quietest skill of all, not about speed, not about strength, about readiness to move forward when the outcome is unknown. Junho had always waited for certainty before acting. Now he began and watched what would happen. He launched the 2nd version of the project with new features that had not been fully tested. Before, he would have waited another month. Now he launched it. 58,000 users in a week after launch, a year after the bridge. Hunyo sat in his apartment. November, the same cold November as a year ago. The lights of Seoul outside the window. 9 tattoos, 9 skills. He looked at his wrists, at the compass on his shoulder, at the tree near his collarbone. A year ago, the bridge. 19 rejections. The question, what is wrong with me now? A team lead with expanded authority. The restructuring is underway, the first results due in a quarter. Pet project, 60,000 users. A 3rd investor is on the way. Publications in 3 outlets. Physically 10 kilometers in the morning, 3 workouts a week, a mountain hike last weekend. Era appeared, simply sitting by the window when he came in. "A year," she said. "A year, how does it feel?" "Strange," Junho said. "A year ago I stood on the bridge and thought that something was broken in me." Pause. Now I understand it was not broken. It was simply not built. A big difference. "Huge," Junho said. "You fix what is broken. You build what is unbuilt. It is a different process." Era looked at him. "You have grown," she said simply. "There is still room to grow." "Yes," she agreed. "But do you hear the difference? A year ago you would have said something is broken. Now there is room to grow." Pause. These are not just words. It is a different point of view. Junho was silent. "Ara," he said. "Those girls who rejected me. Some of them later." "Doubted. I saw it." "Yes. Is that the system too?" "No," Ara said. "That is just people. They see the changes and reconsider their assessments." Pause. "That is their process, not yours." "I do not want to go back," Junho said. "Not to any of them. Not out of anger, just they rejected who I was. That person is gone." "Good conclusion," Era said. "But it gets lonely sometimes." "I know," Era said quietly. "Growth is a lonely process, temporarily." Pause. "The person you need did not know your former self. She will only see who you are now." She. "Someone," Era corrected herself. "There will be someone." Hunyo looked out the window at the lights of Seoul. "The Han is beautiful at night. Life will be too. Be patient." The new year passed quietly. In January, there was a business dinner. Partners, investors, a few media people. But Junho barely noticed that context. He was looking at the girl by the window who was standing alone and reading something on her phone in the middle of the noisy dinner. Rina. They introduced themselves. She was an architect, designing public spaces. She spoke slowly, precisely, every word in its place. They talked for half an hour. Junho listened for real with the skill of the tree. She noticed. People always notice when they are truly heard. At the end, Junho suggested meeting. Rina looked at him for a long time. Then, Junho, see, you are an interesting person, truly. But right now, I am in the middle of a very intense project. 6 months with no personal life. That is the honest truth. It would be dishonest to start something and not have time for it. 28th. Junho nodded. I appreciate the honesty. Really? Really. Most people say I am busy and disappear. You explained. Pause. That is respect. Rina looked at him. You are strange, she said. I hear that often. She smiled a little. For the first time in the whole conversation, she truly smiled. Good strange, she said, and left. The tattoo appeared on his right forearm. A small bridge, simple, arched, with a reflection in the water. Tattoo number 10. Right forearm. Bridge skill. Building connections between people. Bringing them together. Junho looked at the tattoo. A bridge. Like back then, where everything began. With the bridge skill, things started happening around him. Not magic. He simply became a person around whom people connected. He introduced 2 acquaintances and they launched a joint project. He connected an investor with a founder and a deal happened. He matched a colleague with a mentor, and the person grew more in 3 months than in 2 years. The project stopped being just a product. It became a gathering point for a community. Junho organized the first offline meetup in Seoul. He expected 50 people, 180 came. At the meetup, Rina again. She came as a participant. It turned out she was designing a public space for the IT community and had heard about the project. She saw him and stopped. Is this your meetup? Mine, Junho said. You organized all of this. We, he corrected. The community. She looked at the hall, 180 people, conversations, energy, several spontaneous partnerships already beginning to form right here. 6 months, I said, Rina said quietly. I remember. 2 have passed. I remember that too. She looked at him. You are not pressuring me. No. Why? Because you said it honestly, Junho said. I heard you. Pause. To pressure you would mean I did not hear you. Rina was silent. The compass read her clearly. She is thinking. Truly thinking. 4 more months, she finally said. Okay, will you really wait? I really will, Junho said. I have plenty to do. She laughed, quietly, in surprise. Good strange, she said again. Ara appeared during the day for the first time during the day in a cafe in Itaewon where Junho was working. She simply sat down opposite him, took his coffee, took a sip. You are looking at me like I am something strange, she said. You are drinking my coffee. Angels are allowed to, Ara said. Listen, I want to tell you something important. Go ahead. The system will end soon, she said. Not because the rejections will end, because soon you will stop needing a reward for pain. Pause. There will be 2 or 3 more tattoos at most. What then? Then it will be just you, Ara said. The system gives skills, but the use of those skills, the direction, the meaning, that was always yours. The system only opened doors. You were the one who walked through them. Junho looked at her. You say that as if you are saying goodbye. Not yet, Ara said. But soon. She finished the coffee, stood up. Ara, yes, thank you. She paused a little, then, not me. Yourself. She left through the door this time like an ordinary person. The 11th rejection came that same evening. Junho met Baiji at an exhibition of architectural projects. Smart, with a sharp gaze. They talked about urbanism unexpectedly deeply. He suggested meeting. Junho C. Baiji said, You are a very interesting person. Seriously. Pause. But I have already been seeing someone for several months. We are not officially together, but It would be unfair. I appreciate that, Junho said. You are not upset. I am upset, he said honestly, but I respect it. Pause. You could have chosen not to explain. Bai Jiyu looked at him. Do you get rejected often? She asked. You react too. Well, that kind of response does not happen without practice. Junho laughed. For real. There has been practice, he said. The tattoo appeared on his left side, symmetrically to the fifth one. A small star, not decorative, but navigational, like on old sea charts. Tattoo number 11. Left side star skill. Orientation by values. Knowing what matters when everything else is unclear. This was the deepest skill of all. Not practical, internal. Junho had always known roughly what he wanted in broad strokes. Now he saw it clearly. What mattered, what did not, when to agree, when not to. He turned down a large company that offered to buy the project. Good money. Why not? Asked Jong Hyonu, the first investor. Surprised. Because they will buy it and put it on a shelf, Junho said. For them, it is a competitor that needs to be removed from the market. Pause. The project is needed by the people who use it. That is more important than money. That is naive. That is my star, Junho said. Jong Hyonu looked at him, then nodded slowly. All right, he said. All right. A year and a half after the bridge, you, Rina wrote. Briefly, Junho C. 6 months have passed. If it is still relevant, coffee? Junho read the message. For a long time, he wrote, still relevant. Tomorrow, 1500, Seongsu, there is a place there. Okay meeting. The cafe in Seongsu was small, wooden tables, warm light, outside the window winter Seoul. Yu Rina arrived exactly at 1500. Junho was already sitting there. With a book not for show, he was really reading. He raised his eyes when she came in. She looked different than at the dinner a year ago. A little tired, but her eyes were alive, with that shine of people who have just finished a big job and have not yet had time to breathe out. She sat down. Finished the project? Junho asked. 3 days ago, Yu Rina said. How did you know? You said 6 months. Exactly 6 have passed. You wrote after 3 days. Pause. It is logical that you finished. She looked at him. You remember everything I said at that dinner? Yes. Word for word? Word for word. Urina looked away toward the window, out to the street. Fell silent. That is a little scary, she said. You will get used to it. She laughed, quietly, unexpectedly for herself. They ordered coffee. At first they talked cautiously with those pauses that happen when two unfamiliar people are testing the distance again, then more easily. Then as if they had not seen each other for a month, not 6. After 2 hours, Rina looked at her watch. It is already 5. Yes? Time passed quickly. Yes. She looked at him. With that expression that Junho could read clearly through the compass, she is evaluating. Not his appearance, not his status. Him as a phenomenon. Trying to understand what exactly is happening next to this person. Junho si, Rina said. May I ask a strange question? You may. You have changed over this year. That is not a question. No. Pause. The question is this. She looked straight at him. Why are you so calm? Not in the sense of character, in the sense that you are not trying to impress. Not trying to seem better than you simply are. A long pause. Most people on a first meeting play some kind of role. You do not. Junho thought about how to answer. The truth. She hears falsehood immediately. People like that can feel it. Because I spent a long time trying to seem, he said, and it did not work. Pause. At some point I realized it is easier just to be. When did you realize that? About 1.5 years ago. What happened? I stood on a bridge and looked at the water, Junho said. Something happened. After that I started to change. Rina looked at him. Seriously? Seriously. Will you tell me someday? Someday, Junho said. Not today. Why not today? Because today is the first coffee, he said. No need to do everything at once. Rina fell silent for a moment, then nodded. Logical, They left together. Outside it was cold, already getting dark, streetlights reflecting in the wet asphalt. At the metro, she stopped. Junho Si. Yes. When is the second coffee? Junho looked at her. The compass. She is asking first. That is unusual for her. You can see it from the way her shoulders tensed slightly. This Saturday, he said. There is a place in Itaewon. Good brunch. Okay. She turned, walked to the turnstile, then turned back. Junho Si. Yes, you really are good, Strange. She smiled and left. Junho walked home. It was cold, but it did not bother him. He looked at his hands. At the tattoos. 11. Book, clock face, compass, flame, waves, mountains, knot, tree, palms, bridge, star. 11 rejections that gave 11 skills. And something else. Something that is not on the list of skills. Era appeared walking beside him, hands in the pockets of her strange jacket. Did you see? She said. I did. How does it feel? Strange, Junho said. Not bad, just strange. Pause. Before I was afraid of what a girl would say. Now I just talk. Difference? Huge, he said. When you are afraid, you do not hear her. You hear your own fear. Pause. When you are not afraid, you hear the person. Era nodded. There will be one more tattoo, she said. The last one. Junho stopped. How do you know it is the last one? Because after that you will not need the system, Ara said. You are already building on your own. The tattoos will no longer give you what you do not have. Because you already have it. Pause. The last one is only confirmation. When? When it happens, Ara said. Maybe soon. Maybe not. You do not know. I know many things, Ara said. Exact dates? No. Pause. Life does not work on a schedule. They walked in silence. Ara, Junho said, you were a good guide. I did nothing, she said. I came. I watched. Sometimes I said the obvious. Sometimes that is the most valuable thing when someone says the obvious out loud. Era looked at him. You have grown, she said quietly. Not as an evaluation, as a fact. There is still room to grow. Yes, but look where you were and where you are now. Junho looked at the lights of Seoul. At the Han in the distance. Wonho Bridge was glowing. The same bridge, a different person. Saturday, brunch with Rina. Itaewon, a small place that Junho had found by chance 3 months earlier. High ceiling, soft jazz, avocado toast that was actually good and not just pretty in photos. Rina came in different clothes than at work-related meetings. Softer. Jeans, a beige sweater. Her hair was done more simply. She came as herself. Not for work. A good sign. They talked for 3 hours. About her project. A public space in Mapo. A park with a system of rain shelters that does not look like a rain shelter system. Junho listened for real, with the skill of the tree. He asked questions that showed he had heard. Rina noticed. You asked the right questions, she said at one point. In what sense? In the sense of questions about the essence, not the surface. Pause. Most people ask what it looks like or how much it cost. You asked why the shelters were arranged exactly that way. Because that is more interesting. Yes, but most people do not think about that. Then about his project. Rina knew more about it than he expected. I read your interviews, she said simply. When? After that dinner, she said. Without embarrassment, just as a fact. I was curious who you were. And I realized you were not who you seemed at first glance. What did I seem like? Just another IT person at a business dinner, Rina said. There were many of them there. Pause. You are different. How? I do not know how to phrase it exactly, Rina said. She thought. Most people there talked about what they do. You talked about why. The skill of the star. Orientation by values. She saw it herself without knowing exactly what she was seeing. When they went outside, snow was beginning to fall. Light, the 1st of that January. They stood by the cafe. Rina looked up at the snow. Beautiful, she said. Yes, Junho Si. Yes, I feel good with you, she said. Simply. Without romantic theater, just a statement of fact. I want to keep seeing you. Junho looked at her. The compass. She is telling the truth. No game, no tactic. Just truth. I feel good too, he said. Then we continue? We continue. Snow fell on their shoulders, on their hair, on an outstretched palm if you held one out. They met once a week, sometimes twice. They did not rush. Junho did not rush her. Rina did not either. Both were people with their own life, their own work, their own space. They met, and that was good. They parted, and that was good too. The skill of waves, managing one's state, gave the ability to simply be near. Not to need, not to fear loss, just to be near. Once Rina asked, "Appa, you never rush." "Yes, most men rush things." "I know, why do you not?" Junho thought. "Because I am not afraid that you will leave," he finally said. Rina looked at him. "Is that confidence or indifference?" "Confidence," he said. "I want you to be with me, but not out of fear that otherwise there will be no one." Pause. "Because we are good together." Rina was silent for a long time. "That is really strange," she said. "In a good way. I hear that often." She laughed. At the same time, Oh Saran, the very one. The first rejection after the system. Not my type, she had said back then. She wrote in the messenger. 20 months later. "Junho Appa, hi. How are you?" Junho looked at the message. Compass immediately. She is not just saying hello. She is checking. She had heard something about him, the project, the articles, the meetups. She became interested. He wrote, "Good. How are you?" "Also good. Heard about your project. It turned out really cool." "Thanks. Maybe we can meet sometime?" Just casually, Junho put the phone down. The same phrase Songhana had used once. Just casually. He picked up the phone, wrote, "Seran si, I am seeing someone now, but I am glad everything is going well for you." "I see." "Okay." Pause. Then he is lucky Junho looked at that message. Lucky. He wrote, "So am I." Put the phone down, opened the code, continued working. Rina called late in the evening. Upset. "Can you come?" "On my way." He arrived. She was sitting in her apartment. The project that was supposed to be approved had been rejected. The client had changed their mind at the last moment. 4 months of work. Rina was not crying. She was simply sitting with the look of a person who has something heavy inside. Junho sat down beside her. He did not say everything will be okay. He did not give advice. He did not hurry her into talking. He just sat there. After 20 minutes of silence, Rina said, "You are not saying anything. You did not ask me to say anything." "No, then I will just sit here with you." Rina looked at him. Most people immediately start with, "Do not be upset. There will be other clients. At least it is experience." "I know. That is annoying." "I know. How do you know?" "Because when a person feels bad, they do not want solutions," Junho said. "They want someone to be near while they feel bad." Pause. "Solutions later. First, just be there." Rina looked at him. Then she put her head on his shoulder. They sat in silence. Outside the window, Seoul, lights, distant noise. After an hour, Rina said, "Now we can talk about solutions." "We can," Junho agreed. They talked for another hour, practically, concretely. With the skill of systems thinking, Junho saw 3 paths she did not notice because she was inside the situation. He explained. She listened, truly listened. At the end, "Where do you get all this?" Rina said quietly. "What exactly?" "The ability to be there, the ability to hear, the ability to see what cannot be seen from the inside." Pause. "This is not usual." "I learned," Junho said. "Where?" "Where everyone learns," he said, "through mistakes and pain." Pause. "I just paid attention while paying." Rina looked at him for a long time. "Junho-si." "Yes, I am glad that at that dinner you came over." "Me too." She raised her eyes. "And that you waited 6 months. It was worth it." Rina smiled a little, tiredly. But for real, Junho was walking home at 2 in the morning. Cold, the streets empty, only the occasional taxi. He looked at his hands and saw the 12th tattoo. He was not looking for it, he simply saw it. On his chest when he unbuttoned his jacket near the entrance, right above his heart. A small silhouette, 2 people side by side. Not a romantic picture, just 2 people standing next to each other. Shoulder to shoulder, tattoo number 12. Above the heart. 2 skill, presence. To be truly near another person, Junho stood by the entrance. Looked at the tattoo. The 12th? Era appeared. stood nearby in the darkness. Silent. The last one, Junho said. Yes. This is for what happened today with Rina. For who you were today, Era said. You were truly present. You did not fix, did not soothe, did not rush. Pause, you were there. That is the hardest thing and the most important. Junho was silent. Era? Yes, the system is over. Yes. What now? Now it is you, Era said. Without the system. Without rewards for pain. Just you and your life. Pause. The skills remain. They are yours. But now you will grow because you want to, not because you will receive something in return. That is scarier, Junho said. Yes, Era agreed. And better. They were silent for a while. I did not ask the main thing, Junho said. Ask. Would all of this have happened even without the system? He asked. If you had not appeared on the bridge. Ara was silent for a long time. I do not know, she finally said. Maybe. At a different time by a different path. Pause. But the system did not create you. You already were. The system only removed the trash that prevented you from being yourself. Trash, fear, the need for approval, the habit of making yourself smaller so as not to scare anyone away. Pause. All of that is trash. You were always there beneath it. Junho looked at the dark street. Ara. Yes, thank you for appearing on the bridge. Ara looked at him. Something warm in her very light eyes. For the first time in all this time. You already thanked me back then, she said. Back then I did not understand what for, Junho said. Now I do. Ara nodded. Live well, Lee Junho. I will. She disappeared. For the last time. November. The same November as in the beginning. Junho stood on Wanho Bridge. Not because he felt bad, he just sometimes came back here. Not often, once every few months. To stand. To look at the Han. The river was the same. The person was different. Rina stood beside him. She knew about the bridge, he had told her once. Not everything, enough. She did not ask unnecessary questions. She knew how to hear what was said and what was not said. They stood there, looked at the water. It is cold, she said. Yes, do you come here alone every time? Before, yes, and now? Now, no, Junho said. Rina took his hand. Simply, without theater. The lights of Seoul reflected in the Han in a blurred way like watercolor. Junho looked at the tattoos. 12. On his wrists, on his shoulders, on his sides, on his chest. Each one a story. Each pain that became something. Book, clock face, compass, flame, waves, mountains, knot, tree, palms, bridge, star, 12 rejections, 12 skills, and an understanding that fit into none of the tattoos. Rejection is not the end. It is information. About you, about the other person, about a mismatch at a particular moment in time. Pain is not a sign that something is broken. It is a sign that something matters. Growth is not a reward for suffering. It is what happens when you stop being afraid and start looking. Rina quietly. What are you thinking about? About what I was like 2 years ago, Junho said. What was he like? I stood here alone. Thought that something was broken, he said. Now I understand it was not broken. It was simply not built. A big difference. Huge. Rina looked at him, then at the water, then at him again. Junho, see, yes. I am glad you were not home then. Why? Because otherwise we would not have met at that dinner. Junho looked at her. We would have met, he said. Somehow. How do you know? I do not, he admitted. But I want to think so. Rina laughed quietly. The Han flowed below. Cold, dark, beautiful. Life will be too. Be patient. He was patient. Somewhere high above Seoul where the streetlights do not reach, Ara folded her wings and closed the file. Lee Junho. Case closed. Status, ready. She made a mark, smiled. Good work. Flew on further to where the next person was waiting on the next bridge, looking at the next river. There were many of them, always many. But God is merciful, to everyone. Busan, port, night, Gwangan Bridge, long above the sea with that violet blue lighting that makes it look like a set. Kim Taein stood by the railing and looked not down but forward. At the horizon where the sea became the sky and the border between them disappeared. 24 years old. Not ugly, not stupid. A real artist, not a hobbyist. Worked as an illustrator in a small studio. Drew for himself at night, sometimes sold prints online. Gentle, attentive. Knew how to listen, knew how to notice, noticed how the light fell. How a person changed when they thought no one was looking. How in an ordinary cafe there were 5 scenes worth drawing. 19 rejections in 4 years. Today's Jung Eunji said, "Taeyeon oppa, you are too. Gentle. I need someone with character." Gentle. Taeyeon repeated that word over the sea. Gentle. The sea did not answer. Only the wind, salty Busan wind, with that dampness that penetrates through a jacket. "Too gentle," Taeyeon said again. More quietly. So being attentive is bad. Noticing people is bad. Not shouting, not pressing is bad. He took out a small notebook, always with him, opened it. Wanted to draw, his hands would not obey. Closed it. "What is wrong with you? You are gentle." "So that is it." "Not all of it," someone nearby said. Taeyeon turned around. A girl. White hair, strange clothes. She was sitting on the bridge railing above the sea as if on a bench in a park. "You heard that," said Taeyeon. "I heard," said the girl. "I am Ara, an angel." "Those are wings behind my back, yes." Taeyeon looked. "Wings." "All right," he said. "You are not surprised." "I am an artist," said Taeyeon. "We live with visual strangeness in the world." Ara smiled slightly. "God sees you," she said. 4 years, 19 rejections. Pause. Not a flaw, a pattern. You are not wrong. You are not built in the necessary places. In what places? "You will find out," said Ara. "There is a system. For every rejection, a tattoo. Tattoo, skill, skill, growth." Taeyeon looked at her. "Have you had this with someone else too?" Ara was silent for a moment. "Yes," she said. "In Seoul. Recently." "Did it help?" "Very much." Taeyeon looked at the sea. At the horizon. "All right," he said. "Okay. Okay? I agree," said Taeyeon simply. "It cannot get worse." "How do you know?" "I do not," he said. "But I feel it." Ara looked at him with an expression she herself did not expect. Most argued, demanded proof, doubted. This one simply said, "Okay." "Look at your right wrist," she said. Taeyeon looked. The tattoo was small. The design resembled an eye, not frightening, not mystical, just an open eye. Attentive. "For Jung Eunji," said Ara. "Today's rejection has already been counted. What does it give?" "You will find out in the morning." Ara stood up from the railing. "Go home, Kim Taeyeon. Draw." "I always draw." "Now you will see more than before," said Ara. "I already notice everything," said Taeyeon. "You think it is everything," she said. "In the morning you will understand the difference." She disappeared. Taeyeon stood there, looked at the tattoo, then at the sea, took out the notebook. This time his hands obeyed. He drew Ara on the railing, quickly a few lines, but accurately. Wings, light hair, that special posture of a person who is not afraid of heights. He closed the notebook. Okay, went home. Tattoo number 1, right wrist open eye skill. Seeing details others miss. Artistic and analytical perception of reality. Taeyeon woke up, and the world became different. Not a hallucination, just details. Before he noticed a lot, now he noticed everything, on another level. He went outside for coffee. Busan in the morning, a fish market 2 blocks away, smell of salt, old buildings next to new ones. An ordinary morning, but now Taeyeon saw. The old man at the market entrance holds the bag with his left hand, even though he is right-handed, his right shoulder slightly lowered, an old injury. The girl in the cafe smiles at the cashier, but her fingers fidget with the edge of her sleeve, worried about something. The light in the alley at 7 in the morning falls at an angle that will disappear in an hour. Need to hurry and draw it. Taeyeon kept pulling out his notebook constantly. Clients noticed after a week. He worked as an illustrator, book covers, game characters, usually well. Now the client looked at the new works and fell silent. "Taeyeon see," said the studio's art director Han Mira. What changed? Meaning the characters. They are alive. Different. She looked at the screen. Before they were well drawn. Now they look like real people, you know. I started noticing more, said Taeyeon. How? I do not know how to explain, he said honestly. Han Mira looked at him. Then at the works. Keep doing that. 3 weeks after the system, a gallery in Haeundae, a small exhibition of young artists. Taeyeon took part. 3 works, not the main exhibition, but a good place. Lee Somi, a curator from Seoul, came to look at new names. Smart, with the precision of people who have seen many works and know how to separate what is real from what is merely beautiful. She stopped by his works. For a long time. Yours, she asked. Mine. Powerful, she said. Not a compliment, an assessment. They talked for an hour about works, about Busan, about how the gaze of a port city differs from that of the capital. Taeyeon suggested meeting again. Personally, Lee Somi looked at him. Taeyeon, see, you are talented. Your works are seriously interesting. Pause. But I do not build anything personal with artists whose works I curate. Conflict of interest. Pause. Do you understand? 20th. Taeyeon nodded. I understand. An honest principle? You are not offended? No, he said. I respect professional ethics. Lee Somi looked at him. Something in her gaze softened a little. You react calmly. I try to. Most artists get offended by rejection, she said. They take it personally. Rejection is information, said Taeyeon. He himself was surprised that he had said exactly that. A month ago, he would have said something else. The system was already changing the language in which he thought. Lee Somi gave him a card. A work one. If you are in Seoul, there is a gallery that would suit you. The tattoo appeared on his left forearm. At night, he found it when he rolled up his sleeve. A small thread, long, stretching into loops and knots, like a thread of narrative, or a thread of fate. Hard to say. Tattoo number 2. Left forearm. Thread skill, storytelling. The ability to build a story in works, in speech, in life. With this skill, the works changed again. Before, Taeyeon drew moments. Good, precise moments. Now he drew stories inside the moment. One illustration and the viewer felt what had happened before and what would happen after. Clients felt it without understanding why. Why is it impossible to look away from your cover, said one publisher. Story, said Taeyeon, but there is only one frame. Yes, but you can see what was there a second before, the publisher thought. That is, yes, exactly. Online print sales tripled in a month, without advertising. The works simply became different. People recommended them to each other. Ara appeared sitting on the roof of the studio where Taeyeon worked. Busan below, the sea in the distance. You are growing fast, she said. Drawing helps, said Taeyeon. When you see more, you draw better. When you draw better, you see even more. Pause. A cycle, a smart cycle. I did not invent it, I just noticed it. Ara looked at him. Taeyeon. There is something I do not tell everyone. Say it. The system gives skills. But every person has their own theme, said Ara. Their own essence. The thing through which they influence the world. Pause. For Junho and Seoul, it was connecting people and systems. Another pause. Yours is different. What? Beauty that speaks the truth, said Ara. Not pretty pictures. Works that show what people feel but cannot formulate. Taeyeon was silent. That sounds pompous. Yes, Ara agreed. But true. How will I know I am going in that direction? When someone looks at your work and says, how did you know it was exactly this? Said Ara. That is when. The third rejection was unexpected. Taeyeon was drawing in a cafe. A girl at the next table, Park Ji-yeon, asked what he was drawing. They started talking, cheerful, spontaneous. After half an hour, Taeyeon suggested meeting. Park Ji-yeon laughed. Appa, you are cute. But I have had a boyfriend for 3 years already. Pause. You did not know? I did not know. Sorry. It is fine, said Taeyeon. He laughed too. The conversation was good. Really? Even with the rejection? Conversation and rejection are different things, said Taeyeon. The conversation was real. Park Ji-yeon looked at him with that surprise that comes when a person says something simple but unexpectedly precise. Oppa, you are a philosopher. Artist, Taeyeon corrected. Same thing, she said. The tattoo appeared on his right shoulder. A small sail, not on a ship, just a sail. 1. Filled with wind. Tattoo number 3. Right shoulder sail. Skill, use what is there. Work with conditions, not against them. This changed his approach to work. Before, Taeyeon sometimes waited for the right light, the right mood, the right moment. Now he drew with what was there. Bad light, interesting shadow. Fatigue, a different perception of line. Rain outside the window, a mood you cannot create on purpose. The works became more varied. Not one intonation, many. At the same time, soul. 3 months after the epilogue of the first story. Seo Hannah, 23 years old, manager at an advertising agency. Smart, fast, with the kind of energy of people who do 3 things at once and manage everything. She had dated Choi Ji-ho for 3 years. Choi Ji-ho, who was always late, never listened to the end, said you are too serious when she tried to talk about something important, and at the same time was funny, lively, the kind of person it was easy to be around, until something important was needed. They broke up in October. Ji-ho said, Hanaya, you are too complicated. I need someone easier. Too complicated. Hannah repeated it for 3 weeks, stood in November on Banpo Bridge, looked at the Han. You are not the first one they tell too much, said someone nearby. Hannah turned around. White hair, a strange jacket, wings behind her back. Era, said Hannah. Era was surprised. How do you know my name? I heard about you, said Hannah. From whom? From Lee Jun-ho, said Hannah. He is my cousin. A long pause. Era looked at her. He told you about the system. Yes, a year ago. Pause. I thought it was strange then. Another pause. Now I am standing on a bridge and thinking, that is why he told me. Ara laughed, quietly in surprise. The first person ever who came to the bridge already knowing. And you want the system, said Ara. I want to understand what is wrong with me, said Hannah. 3 years with a person to whom I was too complicated. Pause. Maybe I really am too complicated. Or he is too simple for you, said Ara. Hannah was silent. Big difference, Ara added. I did not see it for 3 years. Now you will. Hannah looked at the river, then at Ara. Okay, she said. Give me the system. Look at your right wrist. The tattoo was a small lightning bolt. Sharp, clear. Tattoo number 1. SEO Hannah lightning skill, speed of thought. Seeing the essence quickly without unnecessary words. Work at the agency. Planning meeting. The client wants a campaign for a new product. Everyone speaks in turn, at length, with prefaces. Hannah listened, and suddenly saw it. The essence of the client's problem, immediately, without a long analysis. She said it briefly in 3 sentences. The room fell silent. Director Yoon Gi-chan looked at her. That is, yes, exactly that. Pause. How did you do that so quickly? I just saw it, said Hannah. After the meeting, colleague Park Young-jun caught up with her in the corridor. Hanasi, have you always been able to do that, or is it new? New, said Hannah. What happened? A breakup, said Hannah. Young-jun looked at her. The breakup made you smarter. The breakup gave me time to think about something else, said Hannah. When you stop thinking about someone who does not hear you, you think about what matters. Young-jun was silent for a second. That is, yes. Deep, or simply true, said Hannah. Go work. Seo Hannah's first rejection was of a different kind. Young-jun invited her to dinner. Gently, unobtrusively. Hannah thought. Said, Young-jun Si, you are a good person. Truly. But I have just come out of 3 years that exhausted me. Pause. I need time to be myself. Young-jun nodded. I understand. You are not offended? No, he said. You said it honestly. That is better than no answer. Hannah looked at him. The lightning showed he was telling the truth. Not offended. He really understood. For the first time in a long time, she gave a rejection. Did not receive one. The tattoo appeared in the morning on her left wrist. Scales, small even. Tattoo number 2, SEO Hannah Scales. Skill fair assessment of oneself. Neither undervaluing nor overvaluing CO Hannah looked at the scales. For 3 years, she had undervalued herself. Jiho said too complicated, too serious, you think too much, and she accepted it. As a fact, as a flaw. The scales showed no. Not a flaw, a quality, just the wrong person. She took her phone, found the messages with Jiho, looked for a long time, deleted them. Not out of anger. Simply no longer needed. November. 3 cities. Busan. Kim Taeyeon is drawing in the studio. On the table is a notebook with sketches. The third tattoo on his shoulder still burns a little, still new. He is thinking about the next work. Outside the window is the sea. Seoul, Mapo. Lee Junho closes his laptop. Beside him is Yu Rina, reading. Quietly, 12 tattoos. The system is closed. Life is not. Seoul, Yongsan. Seo Hana looks at 2 tattoos. Lightning and scales. Thinking. There is much ahead. This is only the beginning. 3 people, 3 bridges, 3 stories that are only beginning. Lee Somi, the curator who gave the card at the exhibition, wrote, Taeyeon Si. There is a group exhibition in Seoul, February. You would fit. Interested. Taeyeon looked at the message. Seoul. Another city, another scale. He wrote, Interested? What is needed? 5 works. 1 unified concept. Theme? What remains? Taeyeon put down the phone. Looked out the window at the sea. What remains? Good theme. Opened the notebook. Began to think. The thread skill, storytelling, engaged immediately. 5 works as 1 story. What remains of a person? Not things, a trace, not words, an intonation. Not actions, but how people felt around them. He drew for 3 days almost without sleep. Han Mira looked in on the 4th day. Looked at the wall where the sketches were hanging. Taeyeon Si. Yes, this is the best thing you have done. These are only sketches. I know, and this is the best. Pause. What happened in the last few months? Life, said Taeyeon. Life meaning something bad? Life meaning something real, he said. Speed of thought and honest self-assessment changed the work quickly. Hannah had always been a good manager. Now she became a person people listened to. Yoongi-chan offered her to lead a client on her own, a major one, a cosmetics brand, a big budget. You can handle it, he said. I can handle it, said Hana, without unnecessary modesty. Honestly, she can handle it. The client is difficult. Many revisions, many opinions, poor communication within the client's own team. At the first meeting, Hannah said, before discussing the campaign, we need to understand who makes the final decision, because right now I hear 3 different directions from 3 different people. Pause, this is not criticism. It is the first step. The client fell silent. Then one of the 3 laughed. She is right. Yes, said the second. The third said nothing, but nodded. The lightning saw the third as the real decision maker, silent because he is observing, evaluating. Hannah addressed him directly. What is most important for you in this campaign? He looked at her, slightly surprised. Honesty, he said. Tired of campaigns that lie beautifully. Good, said Hannah. Then we will do it honestly. Hannah's third rejection was of another kind. Her mother called. Hannah, there is a good boy, the son of Mom's friend. A doctor, wants to meet you. Mom. You are 23. After Jiho, you need to move on. Mom, said Hannah. No. Why no? Because right now I am building myself, said Hannah. And I do not want to be distracted by someone I did not choose. You are too picky. Mom, Hannah said calmly. I am picky. That is not a flaw. Silence. You have changed, said her mother. Yes, for the better. What do you think? Pause. Yes, her mother said quietly. Probably yes, a new tattoo on the right forearm. A small shield, not warlike. Just a boundary, a clear line. Tattoo number 3, CO Hannah Shield. Skill, boundaries. Knowing where you end and someone else's opinion of you begins January. Seoul. Kim Taeyeon arrived from Busan to prepare works for the February exhibition. Rented a small room in Yeonhwaedong. Worked. In the evenings he walked, watched, drew. One day, a cafe in Hongdae. Sat down with a notebook. At the next table was a girl, quickly typing something on a laptop. Then stopped. Looked out the window. Thought. Taeyeon drew. The eye saw she was thinking about work, but her thoughts had gone somewhere else. Her gaze unfocused. Something personal. The thread saw there was a story in her posture. Something from the past that she was letting go of. Taeyeon drew quickly, a few lines. A girl by the window with an unfocused gaze. A moment between what was and what will be. The girl turned around. Caught his gaze. "You are drawing me," she said. Not a question. "I was drawing a moment," said Taeyeon. "You happened to be in it." "May I see?" Taeyeon showed the notebook. The girl looked. For a long time. "This is..." Pause. "How do you know I was thinking about exactly that?" "About what?" "About something between the past and the future." "I did not know," said Taeyeon. "I just drew what I saw." The girl raised her eyes. "Seo Hannah," she said. "Kim Taeyeon." "Artist." "Yes, and you?" "A manager in advertising," said Seo Hannah. "Temporarily in Hongdae because the client is here. I am temporarily in Seoul because of the exhibition in February." "From where?" "Busan." Hannah nodded, looked again at the drawing. "May I keep it?" "You may," said Taeyeon. He tore out the page. Gave it to her. Hannah took it, looked at it. "Do you draw people often?" "Always," said Taeyeon. "People are the most interesting thing." "Why?" "Because everyone carries a story," said Taeyeon. "Sometimes you can see it immediately, sometimes only if you look properly." Hannah looked at him. The lightning immediately. "He is telling the truth, not flirting. He really thinks that way." "The scales, he is interesting. Not because he is handsome or high status. Because he sees." "Taeyeon see," said Hannah. "Yes, you see stories in people." "Yes, and in yourself?" Taeyeon thought. "Worse," he admitted. "Better in others than in myself." "That is honest." "I try." They were silent. Not awkward, simply quiet. "May I ask?" said Taeyeon. "Ask." "What were you thinking at the window between the past and the future?" Hannah looked at him. For a long time. Then, "I was thinking that I spent 3 years on the wrong person, and that this is not a tragedy, it is simply information." Pause. "I was trying to accept that difference." "Did it work?" "Almost," said Hannah. "I am working on it." Taeyeon nodded. "Good work." "Meaning?" "Accepting that it hurts, but that it is information and not the end," said Taeyeon. "Good work." Many never get there. Hannah looked. How does he know that? As if he has gone through it himself. "Taeyeon see," she said. "Yes?" "You have gone through this yourself." "I am going through it," he corrected. "Still in the process." "Long?" "A few months," said Taeyeon. "Since November." Hannah looked at his wrist. Caught sight of the tattoos. At her own, too. Raised her eyes. Taeyeon noticed. Looked at her wrist, at the lightning, at the scales. Silence. "You too," he said quietly. "Yes," said Hannah, also quietly. A long pause. "Era," said Taeyeon. "Era," Hannah confirmed. They looked at each other, then both laughed. Quietly in surprise. With the kind of laugh that comes when the world turns out to be smaller and more connected than you thought. "This is the first time," said Taeyeon, "to meet someone with the system." "I knew about it from my brother," said Hannah. "But a living person is different." "How many do you have?" asked Taeyeon. 3. "Me too." "Which ones?" They told each other. "Eye, thread, sail. Lightning, scales, shield." "Different," said Taeyeon. "The system chooses according to the person," said Hannah. "Logical." "Yes?" Pause. "Taeyeon see," said Hannah. "Yes." "You do realize this is strange?" "Meeting like this?" "I do," said Taeyeon. but strange in a good way. Hannah looked out the window, at Hongdae Street, then at the drawing in her hands. Yes, she said. Good strange. Somewhere above Seoul, Ara was flying. She stopped, looked down at the cafe in Hongdae. 2 people with the system at one table, not planned. Or planned better than she thought. She smiled, flew on. There are many more bridges ahead, many more people who look at the water and think they are broken. There is endless work, but it is good work. The best. Kim Tae-yeon, Seo Hana, Lee Junho, Yu Rina. 4 people, 1 city, 1 system that changed each of them in its own way. And Ara, who is flying to the next bridge, always to the next bridge. Gallery in Itaewon. Small, but with a name people who understand came here. February. Cold, but many people. Kim Tae-yeon stood by his 5 works and watched how people looked at them. It had always been a strange feeling to see how your inner world becomes someone else's outer one. How a stranger stops at your work and something in them changes. Slightly, for a second. What remains? 5 works in a unified series. The first, an empty kitchen. A table, 2 chairs, 1 moved slightly to the side. A mug on the table. 1. But beside it, a slightly lighter circle on the wood. A trace from a second mug, which is no longer there. The second, hands. Old with veins holding a child's toy. The toy is bright, plastic, new. The hands are not new. A story in the contrast. The third, a window. Rain outside the window. Someone's palm on the glass, from the inside, looking outward. The fourth, an empty chair on a stage. A spotlight shines. No one there. But the shadow of the chair is as if someone is sitting there. The fifth is the simplest. A blank sheet of paper. On it, an indentation. From a pen, that wrote on the sheet above it. A letter that cannot be seen. Only the trace. People stopped, for a long time. The eye skill worked constantly. Tae-yeon saw how faces changed. There is a man around 50 by the first work, the kitchen with 1 mug. He has been standing there for 4 minutes already, not moving. He sees something of his own there. Loss. Not the same as what is depicted, his own. But the work opened the door. That is exactly what beauty that speaks the truth is. Lee Somi, the curator, came over. Tae-yeon si. 3 people have already asked about buying. Which works? All 5, Lee Somi said. Different people, different works. Pause. That is a good sign. How much? She named the price. Tae-yeon was silent for a moment. More than I thought. Less than they are worth, Lee Somi said. Tae-yeon looked at her. You are a good curator. I know, she said. You are a good artist. Pause. Do you remember the principle about not mixing professional and personal? I remember. I am reconsidering it, she said evenly. Gradually. Tae-yeon looked at her. Compass, no, he does not have a compass. But the eye saw she was telling the truth. Not flirting. Real. Gradually is a good pace, Tae-yeon said. Lee Somi smiled slightly. Yes. Seo Hana came to the exhibition. Tae-yeon invited her briefly, in Messenger. Exhibition on Saturday, Itaewon, come if you want. She came. She stood by the 5th work, a blank sheet with an indentation. For a long time. Tae-yeon came up. What do you see? A letter you cannot read, Hannah said. But you know it existed. You know someone wrote it. Pause. This is about how presence remains even when the person is gone. Yes, did you think about that when you drew it? I was thinking about what remains from everything, Tae-yeon said. It came out on its own. Hannah looked at him. Tae-yeon si. Just Tae-yeon. Tae-yeon, she corrected herself. Were you thinking about someone specific when you drew the series? Not a question. Tae-yeon was silent for a moment. I was thinking about 19 people who said no, he said, and that something remained from each of them. Not resentment, just a trace, like an indentation on paper. Hannah looked at the work. I thought that after Jiho only pain would remain, she said quietly. But something else remained. Pause. The understanding that I deserve more. Another pause. That is also a trace. A good trace. Yes. They stood beside each other, silently, by the sheet with the indentation. Two people with the system beside each other, without haste. They went to a cafe, talked for a long time, about the works, about the system, about how the skills show themselves in life. Hannah's lightning showed the essence in conversations immediately, but now she did not hurry, she listened. Taeyeon's thread built the conversation so that one thought led to the next naturally, without jumps. Strange, Hannah said at one point. What? We have known each other for 2 months, she said, but we talk as if it has been a long time. The system opens people quickly, Taeyeon said. When you grow, you meet people who are also growing. With them, it is faster. My brother said something similar, Hannah said. Junho Appa. You said he figured out the system. He did, Hannah said. 12 tattoos. Now he and Rina are doing well. 12, Taeyeon repeated. I have 3. A long road. You are not in a hurry? No, Taeyeon said. The sales skill. He smiled. I work with what is there. Hannah looked at him. Taeyeon. Yes, have you ever thought that the system is not only about rejections? Taeyeon looked at her. Meaning what? Meaning maybe it is about something bigger, Hannah said. About who you become. Not for someone, you just become. Taeyeon was silent. Beauty that speaks the truth. That is not about girls. It is about who he wants to be as an artist. Yes, he said. I have thought about it. And I realized the rejections are just a reason, Taeyeon said. The system uses them as a trigger, but that is not the essence. Pause. The essence is that every pain is a door. If you walk through it, you grow. If you stand at the door and feel sorry for yourself, you do not grow. Hannah was silent for a long time. Jiho kept me at the door for 3 years, she said. Or you stood there yourself. Pause. Hannah looked at him. That is harsh. Sorry. No, she said. Do not apologize. Pause? It is true, I stood there myself. He gave reasons. I chose to believe them. A long pause. It is important to understand that I was choosing. Because if he is guilty, I am a victim, Hannah said. If I was choosing too, then I am a participant. Pause. A participant can change the next choice. A victim cannot. Taeyeon looked at her. Hannah see. Just Hannah. Hannah, Taeyeon said. You do not have the skill of systems thinking in your tattoos, but you think systemically. The lightning helps me see the essence quickly, she said. The scales help me see myself honestly. The shield helps me understand where what is mine ends and what is someone else's begins. Pause. If you put that together, you get something like a system. You do. They were silent. Taeyeon, Hannah said. Yes? Are you staying in Seoul? Until the end of February, Taeyeon said. Then Busan. Too bad. Will you come to Busan? Hannah looked at him. Maybe, she said. I love the sea. Busan is good in winter, Taeyeon said. Especially when there is wind. It sounds strange, but it is beautiful. Will you draw me if I come? I will. Hannah smiled. Lightning, he is telling the truth. He will draw me. Scales, he is an interesting person. Not because I like him, but because he is real. Shield, this is not someone else's. This is mine, my interest, my choice. The last week in Seoul, Lee Somi called. Taeyeon si, dinner with gallery owners on Friday. Will you come? I will. The dinner was small, 8 people. Conversations about the market, about new names, about where Korean contemporary art is moving. Taeyeon listened. Sometimes he spoke. The thread skill could be felt in conversations. People noticed that he was interesting to talk to. He built the conversation like a story with a beginning and development. Beside him sat Jong Ayeon, an art critic, writes for a major publication. Sharp, with that gaze that is constantly evaluating. They talked through the whole dinner. At the end, Taeyeon suggested meeting again. Personally, Jong Ayeon looked at him calmly. Taeyeon si, I will be honest. You are an interesting person and artist. Pause. But I am 8 years older than you. And at some point that will become an issue. I do not want that issue. Why should it become an issue? Because it usually does. Usually, yes, Taeyeon said. But you just said usually. Pause. That is not an argument. That is fear. Jung Ayon looked at him. Brave. Honest, Taeyeon corrected. The difference? Courage is overcoming fear. Honesty is simply saying what you see. Pause. I see that you are refusing because of someone else's script, not your own. A long silence. Do you always talk like this? Jung Ayon said. I try to. This is. She searched for the word. Unusual. You will get used to it. She laughed. Briefly. No, she said. Still no. For now. Pause. But a no that is thinking. Good, Taeyeon said. A thinking no is more honest than an automatic one. 22nd. The tattoo appeared in the morning on his left shoulder. A small mirror. Not a reflection, just the outline of a mirror. Tattoo number 4. Kim Taeyeon. Left shoulder mirror. Skill showing people themselves. Through work, through conversation, giving a person the chance to see what they had not seen in themselves. With this skill, something changed in conversations. Taeyeon had always seen people well. Now he could reflect them, not tell them what he sees, precisely reflect it. Through a question, through a drawing, through the way he listened. A person would leave a conversation with Taeyeon and think about themselves differently. Taeyeon himself did not always understand what exactly he had done. He was simply there in such a way that the person saw themselves better. Hana and he met on the last evening before his departure. A walk through Hongdae. Cold, windy, neither of them minded. Tomorrow I leave for Busan, Taeyeon said. I know, will you come? I will ask the sea, Hana said. The sea will say yes. How do you know? The sea in Busan always says yes, Taeyeon said. It is hospitable. Hana laughed. You already miss it. Yes, I always miss it when I leave. I understand, Hana said. I miss Seoul when I leave, even for a day. Pause. Funny to live in a city and miss it. It is not funny, Taeyeon said. It means you love it. Pause. People miss what they love. A place too. Hana looked at him. Mirror, the new skill. She felt it without knowing exactly what. He is talking about a place, but you hear about yourself. What does it mean to miss a place? It means to love it. It means she knows how to love places, people, things. That is not weakness. Taeyeon, yes, you are a strange artist. All artists are strange. No, Hana said. Most artists are strange about themselves. You are strange about others. Taeyeon stopped. Thought. Good observation. Lightning, Hana said. I see the essence quickly. Yes, pause, but it is not only the lightning, it is you. Hana looked at him. Scales, honest assessment. He is telling the truth, not flirting. He sees. Shield, this is not someone else's expectation. This is my response to a real person. Busan, she said. Yes, in a month. If the sea says yes, the sea will, Taeyeon said. The cosmetics brand client approved the campaign. Yoon Gi-chan called Hana in. Hana see. The campaign is excellent. The client is satisfied. Pause. I want to offer you the position of senior manager. Hana looked at him. I have worked here for 2 years. I know. Usually they do not offer it before 5 years. You are not a usual case these last 3 months, Yoon Gi-chan said. What changed? My personal life got better, Hana said. Meaning. Meaning I stopped wasting energy on what did not work, Hana said. The energy found another place. Yoon Gi-chan looked at her, then nodded. Logical, he said. Do you accept? I accept. Hana's 4th rejection that same week. Colleague Park Young-jun again. A month after the first time. He invited her to dinner, more insistently than the first time. Hana, lightning immediately. He thought the first rejection was about timing. That time had passed, so now yes. Young-jun see? Hana said. I appreciate that you asked again. That is brave. Pause, but no. Not because of timing. Because I see you as a colleague. That will not change. How do you know? I see the essence quickly, Hana said. That is mine. Young-jun looked at her, then nodded. Seriously? Understood. Pause. I respect that you were direct. You deserve a direct answer. Thank you. And Young-jun see. Hana, You are a good person. Not for me, but a good person. You will find someone. Youngjun smiled slightly. Thank you. Truly. The tattoo appeared that night on her left shoulder. A small compass, but different from Junho's. Not with a wind rose, just one arrow, clear, pointing in one direction. Tattoo number 4. Seo Hana Arrow. Skill knowing what you want, not confusing someone else's desire with your own. With this skill, Hana began to notice the difference. Before, she wanted many things, but always with a glance to the side. I want this, but is it normal to want it? I want that, but what will mom say, colleagues Jiho? Now the arrow. Clear. This is what I want. This is what I do not. Without explanations to herself, the first thing the arrow showed clearly was that she wants to make campaigns that tell the truth. Not beautiful lies, truth. As that client said, honesty. She wrote a concept. 3 pages. How the agency could specialize in honest campaigns. A niche market, but a growing one. Yoon Gi-chan read it. This is risky. Yes, a niche market. Growing, Hana said. Consumers are tired of beautiful lies. Here is the data. Yoon Gi-chan looked at the data. Are you absolutely sure? The arrow, Hana said. What? Internal, Hana said. Yes, I am sure. Lee Junho called Hana. Hana, yeah. You said you know an artist from Busan. Kim Taeyeon. Yes. Rina wants to meet him, Junho said. She is designing a space for a gallery in Seongsu. An artist with exhibition experience would be useful as a consultant. I will ask. Taeyeon agreed immediately. The sales skill, work with conditions. An unexpected opportunity is win too. The meeting, a cafe in Seongsu. 4 people, Lee Junho, Rina, Kim Taeyeon, Seo Hana. Rina showed the gallery project. Plans, layouts, the concept of the space. She spoke precisely with the clarity of an architect who thinks in 3 dimensions. Taeyeon listened, then asked several questions. About the light, how it falls at different times of day. About the visitor's path where the eye stops first. Rina looked at him. You think like I do, she said. An artist thinks about how a person sees space, Taeyeon said. So does an architect. It is logical that it overlaps. Yes, Rina, but most artists think about what to hang on the walls. You are thinking about how the space itself affects the perception of the works. You cannot separate them, Taeyeon said. A work in a bad space is a different work, literally. Junho listened to both of them. With the tree skill, he heard what was behind the words. Rina found a person who thinks the way she does. Rare? She feels it. It is visible in how animated she became. Taeyeon found a space for a new type of project. That is visible too. Hana looked at Junho. Quietly, Appa, yes, did you do this on purpose? A little, Junho said quietly. The bridge skill. Connecting people who need each other. Tricky, effective. Hana laughed softly. At the table, Rina and Taeyeon were already drawing on a napkin. Rina, space layouts. Taeyeon, how the light and the works interact. Here, Rina said. If we remove the partition... No, Taeyeon said. The partition is needed, but make it transparent. Frosted glass, you see the next hall, but not clearly. Intriguing. Rina looked at the napkin. This is better than what I planned. This is what you planned, Taeyeon said. Just one step further. After the meeting, Junho and Hana walked to the metro. Appa, Hana said. You have 12 tattoos. The system ended. Yes. What is it like without it? Junho thought. Strange at first, he said. I got used to pain giving something. Then pain was just pain, without a reward. Pause. But I realize that is right. Life should not pay for pain. You decide yourself what to do with it. Do you miss the system? No, Junho said. I miss Ara sometimes. She was, pause, honest. In a special way honest. Without pity, but with warmth. I saw her 2 months ago, Hana said. I know, she told me. She told you about me? She said your cousin has started. Pause. Not details. Just started. And you did not call right away? I wanted to give you time, Junho said. Your beginning is yours, not mine. Hana looked at him. Appa. Yes, you have grown a lot. You too, Junho said. I can see it. How many do I have now? 4, Hana said. A long way from 12. Do not count, Junho said. I counted. It does not help. Pause. Just live. The skills will come when needed. Hana nodded. Taeyeon, she said. What? I am just thinking about him. Junho looked at her sideways. Interesting person, Hana said. Neutrally? Yes, Junho agreed. Very. Do not say anything. I am silent. You are smiling. The bridge skill is not only professional, Junho said. Hana nudged his shoulder. Tricky. Effective, he repeated. April. Taeyeon returned to Busan after Seoul. Worked. A new series about space. After the conversation with Rina, he saw architecture differently. As a drawing that lives around people. The mirror skill showed itself in the works. People looked and saw themselves. Not literally, figuratively. Something in Taeyeon's works returned a person to themselves. Online sales grew again, without advertising. Han Mira said, Taeyeon C, you need your own account. Not the studio's, a personal one. Pause. The works are yours, the audience will be yours. I'm afraid of losing time on managing it. Taeyeon C, 3,000 print sales in 2 months. Mira, that is already an audience. They need the artist, not the studio. Taeyeon launched the account. Just photos of the works and sometimes videos of him drawing. No texts, no explanations. In 2 weeks, 20,000 followers. 5th rejection in April. Kim Sayon, a follower who wrote in direct messages. An artist lives in Busan, admires the works. She wrote at length and sincerely. Taeyeon replied, they corresponded about works, about approaches. Interesting. He suggested meeting. Kim Sayon replied, Taeyeon C, honestly, I follow you as an artist. I am afraid that meeting in person will destroy the image. It sounds strange, but I value the way I perceive your works. I do not want to risk it, Taeyeon read. An unusual rejection. Honest. He wrote, I understand. That is honest. Thank you for explaining you are not offended. No, you are protecting something important. That is worthy of respect. Long pause. You are strange, I hear that often. Good Strange 23rd, the tattoo appeared on his right side. A small seed, not a sprout. Exactly a seed. Potential that has not yet shown itself. Tattoo number 5. Kim Taeyeon, right side. Seed. Skill, patience. Seeing potential before it becomes obvious. With this skill, Taeyeon began to draw differently. Not only what is, what will be. Unfinished lines. Space that the viewer completes on their own. Critics began to notice. Jung Ayeon wrote an article, small but in a serious publication. Kim Taeyeon is an artist who paints not objects, but possibilities. His works live not on the canvas, but in the viewer's mind. Taeyeon read it. Sent her. Well written. She replied an hour later, well-painted pause. Then the no that thinks is still thinking. Taeyeon smiled. Patience, May. Yoon Gi-chan let Hana try out the Honest Campaigns concept. One client, a small producer of natural cosmetics. Hana worked on it for a month. The campaign came out without filters, without perfect models, without promises of -10 years. Just real people with real skin. The text, we do not make you different, we help you be yourself better. The client was afraid, they released it. A week later, the campaign went viral. Not because of scandal, but because people wrote finally, honest advertising. The client's sales were up 40% in a month. Yoon Gi-chan called Hana in. Hana C. I was a skeptic. Pause. Was. The data spoke for the concept. The data spoke. You listened. Pause. I want to give you a department. A small one, 3 people. Specialization in honest campaigns. Hana looked at him. Arrow, yes, clearly. This is what I want. Yes, Hana said. 5th rejection, again from mom. Phone call in the evening. Hana, yeah. Aunt Park says her son got a promotion, a good boy. Mom, you are already 23 and a half. Mom, Hana said calmly. I am leading a department now. Right now I need to think about work. Pause. When there is a person I choose myself, you will be the first to know. Are you choosing already? Hana thought for a second. Taeyeon. No, too early. He is in Busan. We have only talked. but the arrow turned slightly when she thought about him. I do not know yet, Hannah said honestly. But myself. All right, Mom said, quietly. All right, daughter. The tattoo appeared in the morning on her right side, a small sprout, breaking through a crack in stone. Tattoo number 5, Seo Hannah Sprout. Skill, persistence without aggression. Growing through resistance softly and unstoppably. She wrote to Taeyeon. The sea said yes. Taeyeon replied a minute later. When? Weekend. Okay, I will show you Busan. Busan greeted her with wind. Cold, it was still May by the sea, different than in Seoul. Taeyeon was waiting by the exit from Haeundae Metro. Notebook in hand as always. Were you drawing while waiting? Hannah asked. I was drawing, Taeyeon agreed. The people at the metro exit. Pause. An interesting place. Everyone is going somewhere and each person has their own reason for being here. Show me. He showed her. Hannah flipped through it. Taeyeon. This girl, she is sad in the drawing, but her face is ordinary. The bag, Taeyeon said. She is holding it with both hands in front. People hold it like that when there is something important inside or when they are protecting themselves. In her case, the second. That means she is carrying something heavy in her head. Hannah looked at the drawing. You see that immediately. Taeyeon said simply. How long? 7 months. Let us go. Taeyeon showed her Busan, not the tourist one, his own. Gokje Market where the smell of spices and sea exists at the same time. The alleys of Gamcheon, colorful little houses on the hillside where every turn is a new frame. The embankment where the fishermen are in the morning, and they came in the morning, on purpose. Hannah was often silent, looked. I understand why you miss it, she said. What? All of this. Hannah, Seoul is beautiful, but this is different, more alive somehow. The sea does that, Taeyeon said. When you live beside something big and unpredictable, you think about yourself differently. You think less that you are the center of everything. Yes, they came out to the sea, the wind was stronger. Hannah stood there, looked. Taeyeon drew. 10 minutes later, he showed her. Hannah by the sea. The wind in the drawing through the way she stands, hair, shoulders, and the expression, the one that appears when a person is thinking about something and not thinking about the fact that they are thinking. How do you know I have that expression? Hannah said. Mirror, Taeyeon said. Skill? Yes. Pause. I reflect what I see. Sometimes a person sees themselves in a drawing better than in a mirror. Hannah looked at the drawing for a long time. Taeyeon. Yes, in the drawing I am. Calm. Pause. I rarely look calm, even when I am calm. Here you are calm, Taeyeon said. Because of the sea? Because you stopped thinking about what needed to be done, Taeyeon said. You were simply looking. Pause. That is rare for you. Lightning, Hannah said quietly. I always think fast. Sometimes I get tired of myself. Speed does not mean constantly, Taeyeon said. You can be fast when needed and quiet when not needed. Hannah looked at him, the arrow clearly, it turned toward him. Not because he is handsome or successful or because she had to, because next to him it is quiet. A good kind of quiet. Taeyeon, Hannah said. Yes, I want to date you. Taeyeon looked at her. The eye, she is telling the truth. The thread, this is not spontaneous. She has thought about this. The mirror, she sees that I have been thinking about it too. I am in Busan, he said. I know. You are in Seoul. I know. It is difficult. I know, Hannah said. And? Taeyeon looked at her. At the sea, then at her again. Seed. Potential that has not yet shown itself. Sail. Work with conditions, not against them. Here is wind. Strong. It is not against. It is a condition. Okay, Taeyeon said. Okay. I agree to difficult, he said. Hannah looked at him. You are the first one to say it like that right away. Usually people say, let's think. Usually people say, but it is far. Hannah. As if distance itself is the answer. Distance is a condition, Taeyeon said. Not a reason. Hannah laughed, quietly, in surprise. The sail skill. Yes, the sea was roaring. Wind. Busan all around, alive, salty, unpredictable. Taeyeon took her hand, simply, without theater. They stood by the sea, two people with the system, both in the process, both growing, and together. Above Busan Ara was flying. She looked down, two of them by the sea, hand in hand, 7 tattoos on one, 5 on the other, not the end yet. Much still ahead for both of them, but a good beginning, a very good beginning. She smiled, flew on. The next bridge somewhere in Incheon. A young man, 22 years old, a musician, 17 rejections, standing by the railing and looking at the sea. Era sped up. The work is endless, but it is the best work in the world.